Well, today we're looking at a game changer for Hyundai. It's the Elantra Sport. Now, I test drove the Elantra when it came out just about a year ago, and while there were many things that made it quite an attractive car, the suspension and the way it handled, I thought, were a little bit behind the pace. Now, we have the Sport model, and this changes everything. The biggest thing with this Elantra Sport is it has a multi-link independent rear suspension, which changes everything. And I hope that they take that suspension and spread it through the rest of the Elantra line. In addition, you get a 201 horsepower turbo 4-cylinder engine and a different look. On the front, you get a unique front fascia and bumper with a turbo badge in the front. You also, around the back, get a unique bumper, air diffuser along the bottom, and twin chrome exhaust tips. You also get 18-inch wheels, unique side skirts down the side, and a pretty nice looking car. Especially looks good in this sport trim. And it all starts at $25,000. We'll get into some of the competitors towards the end of the review, but I think this hopefully is the pattern that Hyundai's going to take, offering independent suspension. We're not going to spend too much time on the inside because we've covered that already, but more importantly, how does it drive? So this Elantra Sport comes very nicely equipped. You get leather seats as standard equipment. You get the Sport embossment here on the back of the seat. You get a leather wrapped steering wheel and leather shift knob. The seats are heated in the front. You get a heated steering wheel, and the steering wheel has the flat bottom. Makes it look a little bit sporty with a red accent in there. Also, you get a fairly nice looking cabin with a faux carbon fiber trim on it. So that's for $25,000. What you don't get, however, is automatic climate control. And if you want the larger 8-inch screen in the center of the dash, you have to spend $2,500 more for the tech package. If it was me and I was driving this by myself every day, then I probably wouldn't get that. You get used to the, not having the automatic climate control. And the seats are not power operated. They're manual, which adds a little bit to the sportiness and the unique feature of this car. But I think it's pretty well equipped with the things that you kind of need to have and some of those nice things that you don't really have to have. Under the hood is a very different power plant from the regular Elantra. All right, this Elantra Sport is a major update over the regular car in so many ways. We'll run through them quickly, and I'll explain a bit about each one. First of all, you get a more powerful engine, you get independent rear suspension, you get an available dual clutch transmission, and you get more torque, and you get it at a very reasonable price. Which one of those do I think is the most important? I think singly, it's the independent multi-link rear suspension. Now, the Elantra I drove last year, my biggest criticism, you can go and watch that review, was the suspension. I found it kind of crashy, and this is a big improvement. Because when you have independent suspension at work, you can let the dampers do more of the work. And it just is a big improvement. It's a night and day. And you really need to drive both of the cars back to back to feel how much better this one is. Then you add in an engine that has 54 more horsepower and 63 pound-feet more torque. Is a big improvement when you add it to that independent rear suspension. So 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque, which reminds me a lot of the previous generation GTI had 200 horsepower. So this one is right in the mix with that. It's a 1.6 liter gasoline direct injection engine, and it does a very nice job. It's quite tractable from low RPMs, I say about 2,000 RPM, but it really comes on the boost, I say around 3,000 RPM. So the 6-speed manual transmission, the one I have here, is velvety smooth. I think the clutch is a little bit light for my taste, but a lot of people will probably like that super smooth, buttery feel. And then you can get the dual clutch, which is a 7-speed dual clutch with paddle shifters. That's all available in this car. So there's a lot going on with the Elantra Sport. It's a major departure from the regular car. And if I was in the market for one of these cars, this is the one I would get. I think you get so much more car for a price that's not much more than the regular version. So I've always had two camps when it came to economy cars. Those appliance cars, and they're very good at A to B transportation, that would be like the Corolla. And then you have more of the drivers-oriented cars like the Mazda 3, the Honda Civic, and now this Elantra Sport. Other cars I would throw into that category would be the Golf and even the Jetta now, because it has independent rear suspension. So this is a car that you could happily live with every day and have a little bit of fun, and the power is surprisingly good. So here's the good news. You get the 200 horsepower engine, which does feel quite potent. You get a great handling car, a nice looking package, and it starts at $25,000. And you also get leather seats at that price point. If you want the dual clutch transmission, it's $1,500 and $2,500 more for the tech package. Gets you the 8-inch screen. It also gets you the automatic climate control. Now, the executives at Hyundai told me that about 35% of initial buyers are choosing the manual, and if you don't need the automatic climate control, I'd go for the base model. It's a lot of car for the money, and at $25,000 is well ahead of the closest competitors. This reminds me of the Mark 6 GTI. It had about 200 horsepower, but it wasn't this cheap. It was around $27,000. There really isn't a direct competitor. The new Honda Civic hatchback costs more than this and doesn't have as much power. A WRX starts at around $30,000. So Hyundai has a value proposition on their hands with this Elantra Sport. And if you're in the market for a four-door sedan with a little bit of fun, this one should be on your list.